Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right. Hello. Good evening and welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore. Again, we have another great show for you, another night of sharing, as I call it. With us, we have Audra Jimenez, owner and founder of BLACKTOPIA. Oh, that name sounds good. So let me go ahead and I'm going to read her bio before we bring Miss Jimenez on. As a Black woman living in New York City, Audra a few years ago was having some passionate, candid, and often sometimes uncomfortable conversations with friends and family about being Black in America. As she was talking back home, she started thinking about what real change would look like. What would be the result of a major social turnaround, along with the steadfast change in all systems about what it means to be Black in America and the rest of the world. The BLACKTOPIA popped into her head. The first thing she did was Google it to see what the results would be. And she could not believe how misunderstood that term and that word was. A word that in reality defines that the essence of everything Black is perfect. Audra had an aha moment and started thinking about all the things she could write, create, and design. Her t-shirt line is the first step in bringing to life the positive messages of change that she would like to see in the world. So now everyone can think and believe and appreciate what BLACKTOPIA is really about. So without further ado, let me bring on my wonderful guest, Miss Audra Denise Jimenez. Good evening.
Good evening, Kimberly.
How are you, Audra? Welcome.
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. I am excited about you being on this show tonight. And I know we're going to have a million questions about what BLACKTOPIA means. We will dive into that in a minute. Do not talk about that just yet. Because I know everybody's like, what is BLACKTOPIA? So before we really get into that, please just tell the listeners a little bit more about who you are, where you're from, and what have you been up to lately.
Okay, great. So, my name is Audra Jimenez. I am actually a social worker, a licensed social worker. I've been working in New York for about 15 years, working with children and students in schools. And I'm also an advisor on a college for graduate students who want to be social workers. And just working with children and high school children and middle school children and me remembering how it was to be a child, I thought of messages and expressions that I would have wanted to see when I was young. And I think one day I went to a conference and I was talking to people about, segregation, racism, how it is for children in the schools. And I just really wanted to bring some positive messages and imaging to youth and just for young adults and just for all of us, because I really am passionate about that.
Well, I tell you what, like I said, this is going to be a great topic of discussion because it is a discussion that we have had for many, many, many years. I'm in my 50s and, I was brought up in an era and time where Black was not a shameful thing. We really believed in the positiveness of it. We didn't mind being who we were. And people had to learn to accept that. I think today we're still running around in this backwards scenario. It's like we're going 20, 30, 40, 50 years backwards instead of being forward, and about saying it's okay being who we are. It's okay being Black. It's okay and looking at Black as being a positive image versus it being a negative image. So as you've been going through this process, and I know I talked a little bit about it in your bio about that aha moment, but the reality is with you dealing with children, like you said, you want to provide them something positive, but explain to me what other true inspirations and motivation gave you. First of all, how did you come up with the name BLACKTOPIA? I mean, I love it. But I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be a topic of conversation here.
Okay, so that's a good one. So BLACKTOPIA. So I was standing there and I was thinking, positive, being Black, being positive, like utopia, like, oh, the two questions that I asked myself were, what would it be like if there were no racism, discrimination, segregation for Black people and people of color, right? What would that look like? We know what it is now, but what would it look like if it wasn't? And then what would it look like to change the mindset of people affected by those things and those oppressing? Like, what would that message, what would support and mindset change, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I was thinking when I was walking, because I was thinking, what would the ultimate positive result be? Not what it is right now. And I thought of utopia. Like, if there was a utopia for Black people, that would be the perfect place where none of this exists. So that's why I put BLACKTOPIA, because I was like, oh, okay, so that would be like the utopia for Black people. And so I put it together. And then I thought more about it. I was thinking, because when I was creating the messages and thinking about what I want to see, I was thinking how to create and inspire that pride and love that would promote that perfect place, that place where you don't feel discriminated against, you don't feel that there are all these racist things oppressing you. Mm-hmm. What would it look like if we just embrace, just like you said, and it's okay. There are so many positive messages out there already, and we are positive people and we are strong people. So I'm not saying that. I just want to see it. I want to go somewhere and just pick it up, or like wear it, or like, write it, or pass it out, or have things that just you can hold. And that's what I was thinking.
Well, and you're right. Your thought process is absolutely right. I mean, it's sad to think that we would have to sit here and have this conversation and say, what would it be like? Because in my world that I live in every day, I look at myself as being positive. I look at myself as being beautiful. I look at myself as being a greatness and a part of something. Doesn't matter what country I'm living in or why or our purpose, but I feel I have a purpose. And the sad part is that we have to constantly remind ourselves, and we have to constantly remind our children and other people that why can't we just be who we are? Why do we have to have it? Why do we have to be accepted? Why does it have to be the situation of, oh, well, it's okay. We're going to let them do this. We're going to give them this holiday, but we can't just be who we are. And so I just kind of get frustrated when I think about it. Like I said, I came up in a time and era where, racism was absolutely well, and it was out there. It was known. You knew you didn't have to worry about where people stood. And today it's just a different type of racism, even though we still have the issue of, unfortunately, just because of the color of our skin, people still hold on to that. But there's a lot of other type of racism that is going on that is more effective in a lot of different ways it's within our communities, within our jobs, the whole 9 yards. Mm-hmm. So I just find it very interesting that we constantly have to fight for this. And so your messages, talk to me about what some of those messages say. And as you're creating them, what other things are you bringing up? I know that you have a t-shirt line, but talk about some of the other items that you have as well.
Okay, so that was a two-part question. The first part of it was how do I create the messages and kind of get the ideas for that? And so a lot of it stems from how I was feeling when I was younger. I actually lived a lot of places. I was born in Arizona. I lived in California. I moved to Connecticut. I moved to New York. And people are different in different places of the world. And there are different types of experiences that you have when you have relationships with different people. And I was thinking about that and the beauty of Blackness, the pride that we already have. And every time I create a message, one of the ones, I'm wearing a shirt and it says, I am Black Beauty. Well, I don't know if you can read it.
You have to stand up just a little bit more. Oh, there it is. There it is. I love it.
I am Black Beauty. So I was thinking, like, We all are Black beauty. It doesn't matter what you look like, but we should see more expressions of us out there in the world. And I know it's getting better. I've seen commercials and TV, but I feel like one of the things that I saw and one of the things that I had a blog about was I was on the subway and I was looking around at all the people. And if you're looking at white or Caucasian people, it's like you've seen an expression of them on any TV show, any movie, any place, any magazine, anything. It's like a regular, I don't know how to explain it. Like everybody is normal in a way, like they look like somebody average. But if you're looking around at us, you haven't seen enough expressions of us on a regular, normal, just doing regular things in these pictures, magazines, or anything, that it feels like we're all generalized into like 3 categories.
Absolutely.
And one day I was just sitting, and this is where I usually do. I just sit and think and read and write, whatever comes up to my head. But I thought about that and I was like, that's part of how I get an idea. We are Black beauty. Like, it's not just that type of beauty that we need to see. We can see our own beauty and we can make it. And sometimes even in media, the things that we write and the things that we create sometimes are recycled that somebody gave us. Not that we made ourselves. Not that we create, not that it isn't happening, but I feel like we could create stories of everyday interactions that we have as people that don't have to be entertainment or dancing or singing. It could just
exactly
be at home going through something.
Right.
And I think, and we all do this. And another thing that I think and how I get my ideas, like Black Girl Royalty is one of the backpacks that I made. And for me, when I was younger, history class was like my worst subject. I really did not, American history was like the worst because I was always like, this does not add up. I really don't think this adds up in my,
Well, you're right. You were
representing me. And children are so impressionable and they also get disinterested so quickly when it doesn't relate to them. And the royalty piece spoke to me because I felt like we are royal and there are royal stories that need to be told. And why aren't they being told? And where are they? And why can't we tell them too? But then again, we also have to be able to research and get that history for us to tell the stories. But then if it's not being taught to us, then we wait so long until college to get them. And, it's just, there's all these layers.
And you're right.
So that's part of some of the ideas. I have on my website, and it's coming back. It's on hold for a little bit because I want to get more ideas and more creative things to put in. But there's just a lot of acronyms and just ideas. I even am toying with like a baby line. I'm thinking about that. But there's a lot of positive messaging that I want to do, especially with journals and bags. And the logo for Blacktopia is a black lotus flower.
Yes.
And the reason why it's a black lotus flower is because my husband loves video games. And back in one of his games, back when we first met, we've been together forever, there's a black lotus flower. And anybody who gets that black lotus flower comes back to life, and it cures anything. It's like the perfect be all of life. And it's also, it grows anywhere. It can grow in mud. It can grow in cement. It can grow anywhere. It's strong. It's like a powerful flower. So that's why I picked it. I was like, because we are a powerful people. We can be anywhere. We can do anything. We still grow. We're still strong. We still get to where we want to get to. But, I just thought that would be an important logo expression, or, everybody doesn't know what it means until I say it. But I just a beautiful way to show Blacktopia.
Right. And it is, I like I said, the name, the logo, everything it has its purpose and it stands up on its own. And then when you explain more about your passion and why you're doing what you're doing, it even makes more sense. And like I said, the sad part about it is that we should not have to sit down and gravitate and gravel in our head. Oh, well, maybe I can do this or maybe I can't do that. Or, like I said, got to stay in that shell that everybody wants us to stay in between the entertainment and the sports. And we're so much bigger than just that. And the biggest thing I find is that why can't we just be normal? Why can't we just, even if you don't have any passions, you don't want to play sports, we're just who we are. And we love being who we are. And it's okay. And we should be able to express that. And it's a constant fight. I mean, everything from our hair to the way our bodies look, to the clothes we wear, everything. And I just find sometimes it can be so frustrating that it seems like year after year, we're still having this constant fight of having to say it's okay to be a Black person. It's okay to be who we are, whether we want to be educated, not educated, we just can't be us without having the drama that comes with that, being a young Black woman, a young Black man is always something that puts us in a position that we feel like we're constantly defending ourselves. And so to have someone in your situation who's saying, you know what, I'm going to remind us every day who we are, I think is amazing. And unfortunately, we do have to have those reminders because we're being told so much negativity about who we are. And, because our nose is a certain way, or like I said, because our hair is always something that reminds us of that being Black isn't beautiful. And then the reality is everybody wants to be us.
Well, and I think one of the things that I think is so important and why I created this is really figuring out and really each of us as individuals figuring out what we want to see, what it is that we personally makes us feel good and is pushing us to the positive, because it is so easy to see all the negatives. It's so easy to see all of, like you said, the things that remind us of the negative and what people don't accept about us. But if we every day make that conscious effort to be positive in ourselves and just like you said, we are normal, we are people, and that's just it. And this is what I want to do what I want to do, and this is it. Not that those struggles aren't there, but sometimes we have to have the difficult conversations, say the difficult thing, because if we don't, we are allowing it to continue to happen. And just being in social work school and working with graduate students in social work, as social workers, there are so many topics that come up that even in social work school, where you're supposed to be able to talk about difficult things,
right?
People just stop themselves from being in that place. And especially when you're talking to different races and you are a Black person, you don't want to feel like the person who is being that judged or shut down, or you don't want to make people feel uncomfortable too, because you're in this place, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I feel that you can have a respectful conversation where two people disagree, but that person really cannot understand because they are not us.
Right.
But we can say it anyway.
Right.
Because if we don't, that person's going to go and do it to somebody else.
Absolutely.
And I think that is the difficult thing. And every fight is not everybody's fight, because I know that sometimes I just have to say, okay, Audra, this is not the day.
Right.
If you can be in that vulnerable place, as much as you can, that's where the change is. Because then you're getting to that place, like I want that place of Blacktopia, because you're saying, this is the world I envision, and this is how I'm telling you what it should be. And I think that's where, when I make these ideas and I create these things and I have these conversations, that's where I want to go. This is where the world should be. And when you're telling me this and you're showing me this, oh, no. this is what it is. This is why I feel this way.
Right.
And it doesn't, but sometimes we take it to a place of anger when it can be a place of teachable moments, just like we do with kids.
Right.
Because they don't understand. And that is exactly the same. In my mind, that's how I kind of put it. Because there's no way unless you're in the person's shoes. There's no way for a kid to understand unless they're that 20-year-old. They're not. They're 6. So you got to be like, okay, you know.
Exactly.
So that's how I kind of keep myself sane.
Right. But, but at the same time, it's like you said, a lot of people don't want to have these, what we consider difficult conversations, which really should not be a difficult conversation. And because a big part of the problem is that people don't want to accept the fact that it's okay that we're all different. That's part of the problem. And then, to conversate about, people get angry because when people don't understand, you're thinking, first of all, whatever gave you this thought process to think this way? Well, it's a learned process, because when we come into this world, we don't know what we look like. We don't know who we're born next to. We don't know who we're laying next to when we're dead. So, at the end of the day, everything is a taught process. So it does get frustrating when you're trying to have a simple conversation. Like you said, they can turn and get escalated because people will not open their minds and just think for themselves. It's almost like some people have a hard time realizing that we're just as human as you are. We're the only difference between us is the color of our skin, but we all have red blood. We all are here. We're human. We're men. We're women. We're children. It's all a part of that. And so it just behooves me to think that you could, to be honest, to really be so ignorant that you can't open your eyes up enough to see that being Black that's just who we are. And we were given this name of being Black. Nothing was brought onto our own. Everything was told, well, this is who you are. And so then when you own it and we say, this is okay, this is who we want to be, we want the power, all of that, then people get angry about that because we have learned to accept our own about who we are as human beings, but just as individuals. So, I'm sitting here listening to your thought process, and I know you got a million things going on up in your head about that constant creativity and constant of making people understand. But you're right, dealing with children, they don't understand it until you teach it to them. So when it's being taught and then you become an adult, as an adult, we're expecting that adult to turn back to child. They're not, because it's been embedded in them for so long that, well, Black people are this. I can even remember seeing some movies because I always really enjoyed understanding the history of who we are and trying to learn about us as kings and queens. But what amazes me how somebody can make a simple statement as, well, Black people are dirty, or they carry diseases. I heard this in a movie one time. I was like, wait a minute, who comes up with these ideas? So just understanding that if you constantly beat something into somebody's head over and over and over, you really don't have that belief about what you look like, and to know that you are beautiful and understand that you're much more than just that shell of who you are as a human being. And even to this day, there are still so many studies, and I'm sure that you've heard about being in the business that you are working with children, that, you still have young Black girls who are still, I don't know if you've ever heard about the doll. Where they have the Black doll and the white doll. And there are still so many young girls who still honestly believe in their mindset that Black is not beautiful and that it's not okay to be who they are. And they will still pick that one doll over the other doll. And I'm thinking that test has been done way before I was even born, or even right around the era in the 60s that I was even brought into the world. And I'm thinking this day that to think that something like that still exists, it's really sad. It is really sad that we are constantly, like I was saying earlier, and we've been discussing, that we have to constantly have these reminders about who we are as individuals, and that it's okay for us to be proud about who we are. But I'm thankful for you. I'm glad that you were constantly kicking the dirt and beating it up out there and kind of beating it over our heads to say, just be proud. Wear this T-shirt. Say that it's okay to be Black. Show who you are as an individual. And it's not about power. It's about just being respected and knowing that we're human beings and we were brought here for a reason. And, and I think until everybody can accept that, then we're going to constantly always have these type of conversations.
Yeah. I mean, and I think there's a lot of different layers too, not just, just like you were saying, within ourselves, within our communities, and then outside, like there's a lot of different layers on what it means to be Black, what it means to be beautiful, what it means to be yourself, what expressions of how you look or act or speak, and what that means to you, on how powerful you are, how beautiful you are. And I think another thing to be looked at is not just us having to feel like we have to prove whether or not we're beautiful or Black. I think it's not just that choice, but more about what do I want to say? More about those conversations, because when I was younger, and even now, education is so sometimes separate, and communities are so separate. And so if you are a person who's never actually talked to a Black person, or you're a Black person who's never actually had a conversation with a white person or another person of another race, either or, then sometimes your perception of the other gets skewed, right? And it becomes this discussion amongst yourselves, and then in your head. Mm-hmm. When you have that conversation and people are vulnerable and able to talk about their beliefs that could be ignorant, or could be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you said that. I think it's important that if this is the first conversation you ever had with somebody else, right, to be able to have that, because then that can change your belief system, and being able to have that opportunity to do that changes the world in a sense, because absolutely, what's happening is children do learn it because sometimes they're so separate that they're looking from the outside in. They never really even are together with a mixed or community. And so right, they only can believe what they've been heard or saw on television or seen in whatever. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think that needs to be broken down, because then, like you said, we're judging ourselves, we're judging other people, we're doing this, beauty is this. But I think keeping on the positive, keeping moving, keeping yourself in it with other people, because we can't just be by ourselves either, and they can't just be by themselves either. Right. That's right. Just that, like you said, then you're like, what did you just say? Right. And then now we got to say, well, don't say that, because this is not what it is. And let me tell you why. Right. And why do you think that? Because, and then maybe people learn, oh, well, that's what they learned. Well, then, okay, well, let's talk about that, because that's what they do in social work school. It's difficult, but this is what has to be done. And it's hard, it's difficult, but and I think it's being done much more now than ever before, which I think is actually a really good positive. Even though a lot of things are happening now that we can't believe, right. There are also more conversations that are happening that probably never would have. Right. And I think that is actually going to change the trajectory of a lot of, a lot of things. Right. Well, and even at the end of the day, I mean, even within our own communities, we are still even going through that process within our own Black communities of just trying to accept us for just who we are, because we've been, like I said, been told so long that you have to be a certain way, talk a certain way, look a certain way, do this, do that. And even within our own communities, we're beating each other up every day about how we look, or, you're not this or you're not that. And it's sad, it's shameful, but it's a part of that constant, like you said, educating each other, understanding that it is okay to be different. We're just who we are. We're human beings. And then, like I said, when people learn to accept that, then we will live in a much better place. Like you said, that dream that you have and the creation of what you're doing is like of wondering what the world would look like. That world can exist when people learn to stop being so judgmental and so critical of who we are just as human beings. I mean, every day we all have to work on that. I struggle and work with it within myself, because some days I just try to understand. You get that constant frustration of just trying to understand, and then it can lead you down that path of
that here it goes. There's that negativity again, or that conversation, that same conversation we've had over and over as we are discussing tonight. So, it can be detrimental to some degree. It can be educational. It can be harmful, hurtful. It can be sad, all wrapped into one. But like I said, if you don't have these conversations, you will never be able to move forward. So we are definitely coming. We are at the end of the show, but I'm not ready to stop just yet. So what I want to do, though, before we definitely get off the show, I would like to ask you just a couple more questions. So if we haven't really dived a lot into talk about how you put the business together, but if you had an opportunity to talk to any young lady or a man who wants to come into business, what would you tell them? What information would you provide for them?
Well, one of the things I know that I had to do was when you put an idea out there, find the people who encourage you, who stand by you, who like your idea. Just keep them around because you need positivity, because you don't want to give up, but you also want to give yourself breaks so that you can keep going, because it's a trajectory that goes slowly up. It's not like this quick or fast thing. Also, keep focusing on your dream, keep focusing on the goal that you want, because whatever that is, you need to just take the steps to get there. And find somebody who motivates you and is doing the same thing you are, because then you can always ask them questions and they can mentor you. And that was really important for me.
Absolutely. And so can you tell us, Audra, how we can get a hold of you? Because I'm sure there are going to be some people who want to talk to you, want to know more about your awesome t-shirt line and all the other products that you have to provide. So could you let us know where we can find you?
Yes. So I have an Instagram. It's BLACKTOPIA Inc. I have Facebook, BLACKTOPIA Inc., Twitter @BLACKTOPIA Inc., and my email is blacktopiainc@gmail.com. And the website is shopblacktopia.com. So in any of those, there's a link on the website. Also, you can email me. So any of those, you can reach out to me.
Awesome. Because I tell you what, if we forget everything else, we will never forget the name.
Yes. Yes.
That name stands out forever. So I don't need to know anything else. I got the name. So we're good.
And make sure you put ink on the end, because there are some Blacktopias out there.
Oh, okay.
Blacktopia Ink is me.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It has been a great conversation. Like I said, I could talk about this for hours, because I think it's something that's absolutely needed, that we communicate, and understanding that Blacktopia is more than just the word. It's all about us coming together and being thankful and praising and saying it's okay to be you, and it's okay to live in a perfect world, and stop looking at color and just stop looking and look at yourselves as being human beings. So I do want to say, like I said, thank you so much, Audra, for coming on. You have been phenomenal. We'll definitely have to keep in touch. I would like to have you come back and talk some more.
Oh, great. Thank you, Kimberly. I really appreciate you having me on the show. And as I said, I am open to any conversations that you want in the future, and any networking.
Absolutely. All righty then. So again, thank you so much, everyone. This has been a phenomenal evening with Miss Audra Jimenez, owner and founder of Blacktopia Inc. So remember that, the Inc. So if you want to know any information about her, please reach out to her on all of her social media platforms. And so again, thank you and for coming on this evening. Good night. All right. That was a phenomenal interview. Like I said, I could have gone on and on and on and on with this wonderful interview. Reach out to Audra if you have any more questions about her business, Blacktopia Inc. So I know Blacktopia is what stands out for everybody, but like we said earlier, if you don't put the ink in there, you are going to miss the opportunity to be able to talk to her. I just want to take a couple more minutes and just talk about some of my upcoming events. And I also want to take a couple minutes to say, if you would like to be a guest in 2019 to be on WSBI, Your Resource Podcast show, all you have to do is send me a short bio, your pick, and of course, a logo, a business logo. And I would like everything to be professionally done. So make sure that you do send that information to me. And you can send that information to Kimberly at WSBILLC.com if you would like to be a guest in 2019. The slots are filling up very quickly. So if you're truly interested, reach out to me because right now we're currently putting in slots for September. So time is moving fast, and it usually takes about a year to get on the show if you're interested. And then the other quick thing I would like to talk about real quickly is the fact that for those who don't know, I am an author as well. And I have author Kimberly and McLemore LLC, which is another whole platform of my own. I have a new ebook release that currently this book is still on sale for $3.99. It is called Are You Living or Existing? The Pros and Cons of Balancing Life. So please support me. I'm trying to get bestseller for this, and I'm real excited about this opportunity because I think this is the year, as I call it. It's about making big, bold moves. And this book will help you get to that point. It'll teach you to learn to stop living through the lens of other people and learn how to do what you are supposed to be doing to have a better life and to reach the goals that you want to reach and fulfill your dreams. And then the other thing that I have that I want to talk about real quickly is that coming in August, I will be going back to Eastern Pennsylvania. I'm extremely excited about this because these ladies I have worked with before. Being that I am an author, I also am a certified self-publishing coach and book coach. So I will teach people how to write their stories, rewrite their stories, teach them how the process works of publishing their own book. We are also going to be having an amazing networking brunch as well. So this is going to be on August the 18th in Eastern Pennsylvania at Joyful Self Wellness Center. I have three wonderful ladies. I'll be working with Christy Joy Met, Miss Wandra Kane, and Michelle Dofinger, who is going to be our special VIP guest, who will be coming up talking to us about marketing on a lot of different strategies. So I hope that you are all going to be interested. If you would like to come to Eastern Pennsylvania or you're in that area, all you have to do, like I said, is go to my Facebook link. You can go to author Kimberly and McLemore, and you will find this information there so that you can get on or either go directly to Eventbrite. And the actual name of the event is Are You Living or Existing? Self-Publishing Workshop and Network Brunch. So I hope to see you all soon. But until next time, you all have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next Thursday. And next Thursday evening, you'll come back to the show. We're going to have my favorite special guest, Lady K and Mr. T, on the show. Have a good one. Good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.WSBILLC.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.